I'm gonna show to you, my fellow chessers, the chess game between Gukesh and Fabiano Caruana in St. Louis, Rapid and Blitz 2025, Rapid round number 9. Hello, my fellow chessers. We're back at it again with another video, my fellow chessers. So let's begin on E4. E5, knight F3, knight C6, bishop C4. So this is Gukepiano or Italian game, my fellow chessers. So, okay, bishop C5, Gukepiano game, my fellow chessers. C3, this is the main line, my fellow chessers. Knight F6, attacking the pawn on E4. D3, defending the pawn on E4. D3, defending the pawn on E5, my fellow contestants, at the same time preparing for bishop E6 or bishop G4, my fellow contestants. Castles kingside, H6, preventing the bishop on G5, my fellow contestants. Rook E1, controlling the center, my fellow chessers. Castles kingside. H3, preventing the bishop on G4 to going to G4, my fellow chessers. Alright. A5. Knight BD2. What's the idea of knight BD2 to go here? Development, my fellow chessers. Alright. A4. Bishop b5, attacking the knight on c6 at the same time, attacking the pawn on a4, my fellow chessers. Bishop d7, knight f1. Wow, my fellow chessers. Why? Why Gukesh didn't take the pawn on a4, my fellow chessers? Like, for example, bishop takes a4. The continuation of computer engine is rook takes a4, sacrifice, and queen takes a4. If queen takes a4, knight b4, sacrifice the knight on b4, queen d1, and we have knight takes d3, and rook f1, rook e2, and knight f4. Knight f4 go here to attack this side. As you can see, the evaluation bar here, black is winning, my fellow chessers. All right, so let's continue the real game, my fellow chessers. Let's go back. Knight f1, knight e7. Wow. Bishop takes d7. All right. Knight takes d7. d4, attacking the bishop on c5, my fellow chessers. All right. So bishop b6, knight g3, preferring for knight f5, something like that. F5. Wow, my fellow chessers. Queen D3, mistake of Gukesh, my fellow chessers. The best continuation on this position, my fellow chessers, is knight takes F5, knight takes F5, or E takes E5, or B4, my fellow chessers. This is the top engine move. Knight takes F5, my fellow chessers. So let's continue the real game, my fellow chessers, which is queen d3. All right. F5, F4, F4, attacking the knight on g3, my fellow chessers. All right. Knight f1, king h1, king h8, my fellow chessers. Knight 2 h2 or knight 1 h2, my fellow chessers, because we have knight on f3, my fellow chessers. It's the same line, my fellow chessers, as you can see. That's why knight 1 h2, my fellow chessers. Knight g6. Wow, preparing for knight 2 h4, something like that. Bishop d2. Wow. C5, attacking the pawn on d4, obviously. All right. D takes c5, attacking the bishop on d6. Knight takes c5, at the same time attacking the pawn on e4, at the same time attacking the queen on d3, my fellow chessers. Attention to detail, my fellow chessers. All right. Queen c2, attacking the pawn on a4. Queen C7. Wow. All right. Rook A D1. Oh, controlling the center, my fellow chessers. Rook F G1 because we have rook on A8, my fellow chessers. That's why rook F D1, D8, my fellow chessers. Rook E2. All right. Queen F7, attacking the pawn on A2, my fellow chessers. C5, very good move of Gukesh. Knight E7, what's the idea? To go here on knight C6 or C5, something like that. Or what? My fellow chess is preparing for G5, something like that. Or queen, opening queen on this side. Knight F1 or knight E1, all right. Knight C6. What's the idea? To go here to attack the queen at the same time the rook on E2. Knight F3, my fellow chessers. King H7. Knight D3, attacking the knight on C5. G5. Wow, creating a bomb here in this king side of white, my fellow chessers. So let's see. Knight B4, mistake of Gukesh, my fellow chessers. The best continuation on this position, my fellow chessers, is bishop C3 or knight D E1, knight D E1, or that's the best continuation, my fellow chessers. All right, so let's continue the real game, my fellow chessers, which is knight b4, attacking the knight on c6, my fellow chessers. Rook g8. Oh, creating a bomb here. Under pressure, my fellow chessers. Bishop c3. Wow. G4, attacking the knight on f3, my fellow chessers. H takes g4. Rook takes g4. Rook takes d6, my fellow chessers. All right. Rook a d8. Rook a g8, my fellow chessers. This is a mistake. The best continuation on this position is queen h5 or knight b4 or rook a. This is the best continuation. Rook queen to h5. Why? Because it takes, and we have go here rook g8, and if we go king here, we have queen takes f3, as you can see, my fellow chessers. All right, can you imagine, my fellow chessers? So let's continue the real game, which is rook g8, my fellow chessers. Knight d5, attacking the bishop on b6, my fellow chessers. Rook g1, king f1, my fellow chessers. Bishop d8, my fellow chessers. This is mistake, my fellow chessers. The best continuation on this position is rook to g6. This is rook to g6, my fellow chessers, or rook 8 g6. All right, so let's continue the real game, my fellow chessers. Oh wait, like for example, go here. Like for example, here, and we have rook takes g6, and then queen takes g6, and like for example knight takes b6, we have queen to g2, and king to e1, we have queen takes f3, my fellow chessers. This is white black winning on this position, my fellow chessers. But let's go to the real game, my fellow chessers, which is what? Which is here, bishop d6, rook takes d8, and then knight takes g8, and then bishop takes e5, bishop takes e5, and then knight d7, attacking the bishop on e5, my fellow chessers. King to f1, knight e6, queen a4, mistake of Gukesh. The best continuation on this position is queen c3 or bishop f6, queen takes a4. King to d2, my fellow contestants. This is the best continuation. All right. So, but let's go the real game. Queen a4, knight b4, knight g5, my fellow contestants. Mistake. The best continuation in this position is knight takes e5 or rook g1 or knight ec5. Knight e to c5. So attack this side, the queen. All right. So let's continue the real game. Knight g5, knight takes g5, rook takes g5, bishop d4, knight e5. Oh, preparing for knight f3 to attack the king at the same time the bishop on d4, my fellow chessers. So let's continue the real game, my fellow chessers, which is bishop queen to b3, knight c6, mistake. The best continuation on this position is rook g1, my fellow chessers. Rook g1, my fellow chessers. That's the best continuation. Knight c6, bishop f6, rook g6, queen c3, blunder of Gukesh, my fellow contestants. The best concentration in this position is queen e3, e5, 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 and queen f3, my fellow contestants. Queen e3. Anyway, queen c3, h4, h5, mistake of Gukesh. The best, Fabiano Caruana. The best concentration in this position is f3, or queen e6, or rook h2. That's the best continuation. But this is the move of Fabiano Caruana. E5. As you can see, the time of Fabiano Caruana is 11 seconds only, and Gukesh is 26 seconds only, my fellow chessers. Queen e6, my fellow chessers. Knight takes f4, attacking the queen on e6 at the same time, attacking the rook on g6 at the same time, attacking the rook on g2, my fellow chessers. So let's continue the real game, which is rook g1 check, king d2, queen e6, queen d7, queen d3, mistake of Gukesh, my fellow chessers. The best concentration on this position is knight to d5, or king to e3, my fellow chessers. So let's continue the real game, which is queen to d3 and queen takes d3, king takes d3, and then rook g5, or rook 5, rook 6 g5, g4, g4, king to e4, mistake of Gukesh, my fellow contestants. The best continuation in this position is rook to e4, or king to e3, my fellow contestants. Alright, king to e4, h4, mistake. The best continuation in this position is knight to d4, or rook to c1, or rook takes f4, sacrifice. Why? Yeah, like for example, rook takes f4. Like for example, rook takes f4, king takes, we have king to g6. As you can see, my fellow, this is mistake, my fellow contestants. So let's continue the regular, my fellow contestants, which is h4, f3. The rook f4 is mistake, my fellow contestants. All right, f3 attacking, and knight to e4, rook h2, my fellow chessers. Wait, my fellow chessers. All right, wait a minute, my fellow chessers. So I hope you can understand what I'm trying to say, my fellow chessers, which is rook to g8, rook e1, king to d4, rook takes f4, king to d5. All right, king to g6, bishop takes h4, rook to f, rook d1, king c5, mistake. The best continuation in this position is king to e6, my fellow chessers. But what is still winning, my fellow chessers? King to c5, king to f5, mistake. The best continuation in this position is rook to d4, or rook to d7, my fellow chessers, or king to f7, my fellow chessers. King to f5, bishop f6, rook takes f2, rook h7, rook a1, rook takes b7, rook takes a2, b4, rook c2, rook c7, rook to f3, rook f3, c3, rook f3, rook f3 to c3, my fellow chessers. Rook b4, rook b3, rook a4, rook to b1, king a5, here rook a2, king to b5, bishop e7, king takes e5, bishop f8, king to e4, rook to d7, rook f1, bishop to g7, rook b3, c5, rook c1, rook d6, king to f5, c6, rook g3, attacking the bishop, and bishop to g2, bishop b2, and bishop to d4, and then rook g8, bishop b6, rook b8, king to a6, rook a2, king to b5, rook c2, rook h6, king to e5, and then rook h7, king e6, rook b7, attacking the rook on b7, b8, rook c8, bishop c5, rook a2, rook e7, check, my fellow chessers. King to d5, rook to d7, king to e6, rook to e7, king to d5, c7, my fellow chessers, rook b, or rook a8, rook d7 check, king to e6, and rook to d6, king to e5, b6, king to b6, rook g8, king to b7, rook a d8, b5, king e4, B6, Rook G7, King C6. Fabiano resigns the game. My fellow contestants, white. As you can see, the evaluation bar here is white is winning my fellow contestants at the same time, preferring for B7 or B8 or Rook to D8. My fellow contestants. So that's all, my fellow contestants. Like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Chessers TV and Chessers TV official team. I have two channels, or this is the two official YouTube channel of Chessers TV, my fellow contestants. Chessers TV and Chessers TV official team. My fellow ka-Chessers. To God be all the glory. Praise Lord Jesus Christ.